I started out on YouTube 10 years ago. Actually, it'll be 11 years coming up in January. So the reason I started on YouTube was never, ever about making money. I know there's a lot of YouTubers out there, including tile guys, who specifically came on YouTube to make money, right? I didn't know anything about that until 3 years ago, and then I made money for a little bit, and then I got demonetized. Long story. Anyway, the point being, I don't have merchandise to sell. I don't have Amazon links to send you to make money. I don't have instructional videos to sell you. There's a lot of people out there that have all of that stuff, and they're begging you for money on Patreon and all this stuff. That's not me. My start on YouTube was showing a bad bathroom renovation that went horribly wrong 10 years ago. Back then, I don't even know that YouTube was only, 3 years old? I don't even know if they were paying you back then. But my point for making that video to get it online was showing other people what can go wrong, what the things to look out for, and not make a $20,000 mistake the way this person had. So, I am on my way. I've got a lot of videos on horrible bathroom and shower remodels and stuff like that. It became my niche market in a weird kind of way, but I haven't done one for a while. And now this person has asked me to come out for a consultation to see if anything is salvageable on their $40,000 bathroom job. And I'm like, holy moly, like even if you had $10,000 in material, which would be hard to believe, you're making 30 grand? Yeah, never have I charged that kind of money. And I don't know what to expect. You will see it when I see it, but I'm on my way there now. So here we are, and when I first saw this, I'm like, wow, this is kind of cool. I like this. You got your glass tile down here, and then you have your border vertically, which I call waterfall border, which I really like. I like that tile. You have your nice faux marble porcelain tile on the wall. You have a nice little niche. You have this penny hexagon tile, quarter size anyway, on the floor. Nice drain and all this stuff going on. Well, it's not too bad. So in my videos, and if you go back into my library of videos on my channel, you're going to see, going backward in time, I have a lot of bad bathroom, bad shower job videos that I post because I want people to know what they don't know. And in addition, take pictures. When somebody is doing a job like this, it's a long process. This shower took a good part of a week to build, good part of a week. At the end of the day, you take pictures. You take pictures when the pan is poured. You take pictures every step of the way. You have pictures so that when I show up at a consultation like this, I can say, hey, show me the picture of how the pan was put in. And then they can whip out their phone and show me exactly what was done, because I don't know what I don't know. So I do kind of a forensic study, so to speak, to get into how things were done after the fact. But some of it is still a guessing game, ultimately. And, then when I get here, I'm starting to disseminate some of the little hints that tell me if this guy built a shower. Because in a lot of ways, I could tell that he's tiled, somewhat pretty good. I mean, he's, as I said on some of my other videos, this guy is a decent tile setter. Decent meaning I would trust him to do a floor in any application. I would trust him to do a backsplash in a kitchen. There's a lot of tilers out there that have never built a shower, but they get attracted to the price of building a shower. Typically something like this would be, geographically speaking, I don't know where you're watching this from, but it could be anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 to build a shower like this. If you're paying anything less than that, say he came in at $1,200 or $1,500, yeah, send him on his way. But what I look at is little things that may seem nitpicky to some people, but for example, this Schluter strip, right? A couple of problems with this Schluter strip. Well, there's a lot of problems with it. First of all, he picked the wrong size, because you can definitively see that there's probably 1/8 of an inch of this Schluter showing. Like I could just put something up against there and I'm hitting it. Then we get down to here and it's even larger. And so that's not good, and it's even larger on this side. Look at that. And so this guy's never really worked with Schluter material before, nor has he worked with a mosaic where it meets up with a thicker tile. What he should have done to take up that 1/4 inch room is to put 1/4 inch backer board onto his backer board he currently has, so that the bump out would match up with the Schluter. But it still doesn't quite match here, and that's a problem. But he's also putting the Schluter on the wall first, I can see that, before he put the tile. If he had waited and put his tile on and left a gap here, filled in the gap with thin set later, and then slid his Schluter in there, then he could get flush with that. There would still be a small gap behind here, but that could be finished with little sheetrock mud. Little things like that I notice, right? Little things like, same thing with the Schluter here. It doesn't quite match up. There's a little lippage going on the edge of this niche, which is not good. The niche isn't sloped. It's completely flat, but the curb is sloped. So it's a weird little, so you can see the slope on the tile. So it's a weird little thing. Ooh, look at that. I didn't even notice that piece is cracked. Right up here. It's a weird little thing that, yes, he knew the curb should be sloped, but not the niche, which is odd. Then I also noticed that he's got a little chipping, and it happens on porcelain tile, even with the best blade sometimes. Sometimes it's the tile's fault. And there is a rubbing stone that he could have shaved some of that nicking that went on. He could have saved some of this nicking that went on. You know, it's not, you know, I'm not trying to nitpick, but look at that, you know, like, I don't know, you know, a little grout in there, a little white grout would have gone a long way at some point, but, you know, they chose a gray grout, which I'm going to get to. So, and then look at here. So you've got a little 2.5 inch piece of tile down here, and then about 1.25 inches going up here. Well, why have that? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Spatially, if you took that, combined that, you've almost got a full tile. So it would come up to here, and then you would end up, yeah, I don't know. Like I said, that's aesthetically, look at that chip. Just aesthetically speaking, there's things that kind of yell out to me. Not doing a 45 cut on this, which is not a huge deal of it in itself, except that there's a little lippage going on and it's sharp. And the homeowner even said that it's really sharp. And he could have taken a file and smoothed that down. But he also could have done a 45, which would have been nicer and neater. And this is sharp on this edge also. So just kind of little things that, you know, yell out to me that, look here, he's got almost no grout line whatsoever, which is not really good. You should have at least about 1/8 of an inch somewhere, which isn't happening until you get up to here, and then all of a sudden it's like, I don't know, 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, and then there's a couple of chips on the tile. And then he doesn't have a hole cutter, which a shower guy would have a hole cutter. Instead he's doing a square. And then, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of little things, little details that I notice, you know, where I go, okay, well, he was a pretty decent tiler, but these guys are not happy about any of this stuff. I wouldn't be either. There's some things that I see on here. Look at there. So he split that tile, but where's that tile at? But he managed to round out that cut. So why? If you're going to spend this much time on a shower, which took a long time, there's a lot of details going on, then why not spend the time to do it right? You know, it's kind of what I'm getting at. Even on this Schluter piece, I've never seen this where there's like this stain or some of this, well, it's scratched up too. You can see the scratches. So it's scratched up, which is not good, but also it's like the chrome came off of this, and that's not right either. So again, there's a lot of things that seem like I'm nitpicking, but this is what the customer, the homeowner, they're not my customer. Yeah, they did the floor tile after the fact. So you've got these huge grout lines going on where the water is not naturally wanting to roll off of the wall onto the floor because they did this last. There's no lippage on here. Everything seems to look like it's sloped down to the drain. They haven't used it yet because they haven't put in the valve or the cartridge rather, and so they've kind of backed off from using it. One of the main reasons, look at that grout line. One of the main reasons is because they claim there was no shower pan in here. So I suggested, yeah, so there's some red guard in here, but they also told me, and this is odd too, they told me that they red guarded the walls, but they used a dark substance on the pan, they think, which I believe is 8+9, because that would be like a black looking waterproofer. And we're crossing our fingers that they actually did. They don't have pictures to show me, and that I don't know what I don't know, as I said from the start. But I do know this. We cut out back here to find the backer board inside of the pan, and what's missing? A pan liner. So you could argue the point, I suppose, that 8+9 is on the floor. Why they switched out from the floor 8+9 to the red guard on the walls, I don't know. But if they red guarded the walls and then they did a waterproofer on the floor, then that almost doesn't matter, because now you have a pan liner, which by virtue of the liquid topical membrane, they're still a membrane. So they may have saved themselves. I don't know. They haven't used a shower yet. But unfortunately, they also stuck their wallboard into the pan material definitively, which means that even if they had red guarded the walls and 8+9 on the floor, they still have a possible penetration of water into the pan material, which would wick into this backer board and then eventually rot out these 2x4s and or rot out the curb, because if they stuck that backer board in the pan, they also stuck that backer board into the pan, and that's going to wick around the curb, which is 2x4s. It's going to ruin those eventually years down the road, and it might ruin some of the floor material. By the time you see a leak in the ceiling, all of that stuff has occurred because of that. With any luck, they did waterproof the surface. We don't know that. So that's the conundrum that they find themselves in. Other than that, you know, the guy did a pretty decent job. There's no lippage going on. I mean, there's some minor lippage, but they claim he didn't use any leveling clips. But it is a rectified tile, so, you know, he was saved a little bit by that. Rectified is always better. This is an epoxy grout, which has a little sparkle to it, which is kind of cool. An epoxy grout is very, very difficult to work with. In fact, they tried to top him out of it. And so there's some missing stuff going on there. But epoxy grout is, of in itself, kind of a waterproofer. So that's when I kind of told these homeowners that since they did choose epoxy grout, it's very possible the shower will never leak and they won't have a problem. But then they have to decide how many of these little faux they have to ignore. And some of it's harder to ignore than others. Like, they don't like this that I started with. They don't like this at all. But unfortunately, they used corner bead on the sheetrock, which I would have never have done. And also, the Schluter is actually pushed into the wall, which makes it impossible to pull it out, which means that you have to take out tile, which means, yeah, a big mess. So, you know, kind of is what it is. I feel bad for them because they spent a good, so they did this whole bathroom renovation, a lot of plumbing, electrical, and electrical is not quite right because see the flashing light, it shouldn't be flashing. Even if that's a thermal overload, it should just shut off for 5 minutes and then come back on. So there's some issues that they're having with the contractor who subbed all of this work, the sheetrock, the plumbing, the electrical, all this stuff. So that's the other fair warning. Stay away from subs. Stay away from a GC who subs all the work. And if you can, figure out who the tile guy is as the sub, rather than trying to, because, you know, now they're kind of stuck. If they're going to go after the contractor who actually subbed, or if they're going to go after the sub. And, you know, it kind of puts them in a bad situation. But yeah, that's kind of my take on all of this. Another thing I kind of noticed too, which I didn't really notice before, it seems to be, this whole pattern seems to be off a little bit. I don't know why that is. That's not a 24-inch piece. And it should be, right? Because if you're going to propose that this is going to kind of be one tile, theoretically, then why wouldn't it be a 24-inch piece, which this would be? I don't know, it's kind of weird, but I just noticed it. Yeah. Overall, it's not a horrible job. Some people have gone back in my history and seen really bad tile jobs in a shower. It's not absolutely horrible, but it definitively tells me he's not a shower guy. He's an okay tile guy, and I would hire him, you know, to be my helper, but I would not hire him to build a shower. That's for sure. Hey, if you enjoyed that video and you learned something, consider being a Patreon member. $5, $10, $15 a month would help me greatly produce more videos. I make nothing from YouTube at all. If you're gonna call me for advice, please donate $50 for 30 minutes. My link to my PayPal and my Patreon account is down below. And if you haven't already, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you get immediate notifications as soon as I post videos. And thank you very much for your support.